It was the evening of November 18th, 1993, inside London's prestigious Guildhall. The clock read 7:47 p.m. The grand room was packed. 800 of the nation's most influential people filled the space, buzzing with anticipation. Princess Diana stepped up to the podium for the annual Lord Mayor's banquet. Every eye was on her. Prince Charles sat at the head table, watching, fully expecting the usual royal politeness, a speech he assumed would be quickly forgotten. But as Diana began to speak, her graceful presence was clear. Her smile was unwavering. But beneath that grace, she was about to deliver a calculated blow, one that would change the monarchy's story forever. Every phrase was carefully practiced, each pause sharpened with intention. This wasn't just a speech, it was Diana's moment of reckoning, a long-awaited response to the public humiliation she had endured at Charles's side. Tonight, it would be Charles who felt exposed, his stature diminished before the very people whose approval mattered most to him. No one in the room realized just how deliberately Diana had set this stage, or the stunning personal truths she was about to reveal. This was more than payback. This was revenge, masterfully executed. October 25th, 1993. 3 weeks before that fateful night, Diana's campaign for vengeance began quietly and methodically. She didn't start at the podium. Instead, it started around discreet tables in guarded conversations. For too long, she had watched Charles openly parade Camilla, casting Diana as the unnecessary outsider and himself as the wounded partner. But this time, everything would change. Over a quiet lunch, Diana confided in her trusted friend, James Coolthirst. She shared her plans to speak at the upcoming Lord Mayor's banquet, her expression filled with both resolve and anticipation. James lifted his eyebrows in concern and asked what she wanted to discuss. With chilling clarity, she replied, marriage and just how essential truth and loyalty are within it. He warned her that Charles was nearby, but she stood her ground. Charles has spent 3 years exposing my pain for everyone to see, while keeping his own reputation spotless. Now, it's time for the truth to be heard by those who matter most. What came next was a process of careful, even ruthless preparation. Diana worked with a professional speechwriter, refining every phrase until it was perfect. Nothing was left to chance. Every sentence was crafted to pierce, each pause heavy with meaning, and This was more than just a speech. For Diana, it was a blade sharp and intentional. Her plan went far beyond words. Diana wanted Charles to be forced to listen, surrounded by Britain's elite, as she revealed the truth about who he was as a partner. But the preparation for this public reckoning went even deeper than anyone realized. Diana became her own investigator, tireless and thorough. Over 2 relentless weeks, she built a powerful case. She searched out exact dates, tracked down witnesses, and pieced together a timeline of Charles's betrayals. She gathered staff testimonies, each one confirming his nights spent away from home. Phone logs revealed a flurry of calls to Camilla, hundreds, impossible to ignore. Credit card slips exposed evenings Charles spent whining and dining with Camilla, while Diana sat alone in their vast, silent palace. Even Charles's own voice, captured on secret recordings, betrayed his duplicity. But Diana's sharpest weapons weren't just receipts or records. The most devastating evidence was what only she could reveal: the emptiness, the disappointments, and the heartbreaks she endured within their marriage wounds, invisible to the world, but just as real and every bit as painful. Diana opened up to her speechwriter. I know things about Charles that no one else does: his secret fears, his wavering confidence, the subtle cruelties only a spouse would notice. Tonight, I plan to reveal just enough to shatter the image he works so hard to protect. In the weeks before the banquet, Diana rehearsed relentlessly, not just the words, but her entire delivery. She practiced every pause, the sparkle in her eyes, and every tilt of her head. This wouldn't be just a speech. It would be a performance intended to mesmerize and to unravel. And then, of course, there was her appearance, the silent language of power. On the morning of November 18th, Diana's plan took shape right in her own wardrobe. She selected a stunning black gown off the shoulder, stylish and boldly elegant, sure to attract every look in the room. As she spoke with her stylist, she made her intentions absolutely clear. I want every man to notice me, not him. I want the wives to feel envy, and I want Charles reminded, with every single glance, exactly what he has lost. Her hair and makeup were flawless, but most clever of all was her choice of jewelry, the final touch, and perhaps her boldest statement yet. That evening, Diana made a deliberate choice. She wore the Spencer family diamonds, not jewels from the royal collection. It It was a quiet yet unmistakable signal tonight. She stood before them not as a dutiful royal, but as Diana Spencer, independent and self-assured. She spoke plainly to her staff. "Tonight, I do not speak on behalf of the royal family. Tonight, I am my own person, and I have truths to share." As she glanced in the mirror one last time before leaving, confidence flickered across her face. With a faint, icy smile, she whispered, "Charles is completely unprepared for what is about to unfold." By the end of the night, Diana was determined that everyone in the hall would know exactly who the man beside her was. Her revenge was about to be unveiled in full force. Diana's arrival at Guildhall wasn't just a formality. It was carefully orchestrated to make a strong psychological impression. She timed it perfectly. Arriving 15 minutes after Charles, she guaranteed that every head would turn her way. As she entered, the Lord Mayor greeted her, unable to hide his admiration. "Your Royal Highness, you are absolutely radiant this evening." Diana responded with poise, her every move reinforcing her control of the moment. "I am eager to speak about marriage and what genuine partnership means," she told those around her. Meanwhile, Charles mingled with the city's power brokers, glancing over as Diana charmed her way through the room. She lingered with the evening's most influential guests, quietly building anticipation. Observers whispered to each other, noticing Diana's vibrant energy. "She has a glow this evening," remarked the wife of a top banker. "It's such a stark contrast to the prince, don't you think?" Mused another guest. Charles could feel the spotlight shifting. Diana's warmth seemed to draw everyone in, leaving him feeling more and more isolated, an aloof shadow next to her vibrant energy. During the reception, Diana made sure to position herself close to Charles whenever the cameras flashed, carefully maintaining the image of unity for the press. But their body language told another story. Tension and sadness lingered around Diana, visible in every photograph, each one silently revealing her inner struggle. Then a crucial and private moment arrived as the clock approached 8:30 p.m. Diana leaned in close to Charles, her voice barely above a whisper, a warning meant for him alone. The room was filled with quiet anticipation, guests settling into their seats as the silverware gleamed, ready for the evening ahead. At the grand table, Diana approached Charles. To the onlookers, it seemed like a loving, private moment, a caring wife offering words of support. But beneath that appearance, something entirely different was happening. Diana leaned closer so only Charles could hear and softly murmured, "I hope you find my speech interesting, Charles." Wah! "I have chosen every word very carefully, especially when it comes to the subject of marriage." Confusion flickered across his face. "Just keep it dignified, Diana." Her reply was honeyed yet searing. "Don't worry, I will. I intend to speak about honesty, fidelity, and what happens when those qualities disappear from a marriage." At that, the color drained from Charles's face. "Diana, what are you doing?" he hissed. "Telling the truth, Charles. Something our marriage has never truly seen. You must not." "Oh, but I will. Now put on your best smile. All eyes are on us." With that, Diana gave his hand a gentle squeeze and flashed a dazzling smile at the cameras. She glided back to her seat, while Charles worked to hide his dread beneath the banquet hall's bright lights. What Diana revealed in her opening remarks would stun everyone in the room. This was the moment that would echo through history. At exactly 9:15 p.m., Diana rose to her feet. All conversation stopped. She stood radiating confidence, elegant, poised, fully in command. "Good evening," she began, her voice calm and assured. "Tonight I would like to discuss something deeply personal, the essence of marriage." Every eye in the room was fixed on her. Even the timeless grandeur of the hall seemed to lean in, as if listening. Charles shifted in his seat, his discomfort obvious to anyone watching. Diana spoke with clarity and purpose. "We are taught that marriage is built on love, trust, and respect. But what is left when those pillars fall, when the vows we make before God are just lines rehearsed for the world to see?" The room was silent, hanging on every word. No one realized yet Diana was leading them into a public reckoning. Her next words would strike at the very heart of royal deception. "It's a painful truth. Some people see marriage as a solemn duty, not a source of joy. They show one face in public while seeking real happiness elsewhere." As Diana's message grew clear, Charles's cheeks lost their color. The entire room watched in silence as Diana carefully and boldly dismantled the myth of her husband, the man meant to be king. With each word, Diana pulled back the curtain on her marriage, right in front of 800 power brokers, the very core of Britain's elite. She called out the hypocrisy of those who speak reverently about tradition and loyalty, while their private actions betray both. Diana paused, letting the silence fill the space between her words as she met Charles's gaze. We gather at grand occasions like this, wrapped in the image of steadfast devotion. But everyone here knows where true affections really lie. These smiles are just for show. Then came the moment that would echo far beyond the hall's gilded ceiling, the most devastating personal note. At exactly 9:18 p.m., Diana delivered her most pointed truth. I've learned how it feels to sit through these formal banquets, smiling for the crowd, applauding the speeches, all while knowing my husband's mind is somewhere else. I've watched him, distracted by his phone, hoping for messages from someone who isn't his wife. Her words landed with the weight of both a confession and an accusation. Charles sat perfectly still, stunned by the realization that their most private pain was now exposed to every influential guest in the room. The silence hung heavy, everyone absorbing the raw honesty in Diana's voice. But Diana didn't stop. With each new truth, her words cut deeper than before. I know all too well what it's like to plan a romantic evening, only to have it canceled always because of some urgent estate matter. And somehow, that matter always seems to involve the same companion. In that moment, it was clear Diana wasn't just telling a cautionary tale. She was sharing her own hurt, openly, right there in front of her husband and everyone else. Still, she pressed on, her voice unwavering. I know what it's like to find affectionate letters among my husband's things, letters meant for someone else. I know the shock of seeing phone bills scattered with calls to numbers I'm never allowed to ask about. Trapped at the head of the table, Charles longed to escape, but he could do nothing except endure the relentless spotlight. Diana's composure was flawless, her voice calm, even as she revealed her deepest wounds. And perhaps worst of all, she said, I know the ache of being told I am too emotional, too sensitive, whenever I try to speak about the pain these things cause. Word by word, she chipped away at Charles's standing in front of the nation's elite. Still, the final act was yet to come, a last statement, chilling in its honesty, that would leave the room breathless and Charles completely humiliated. Diana's closing words were powerful, both an indictment and a moment of reckoning. There are those who claim that devotion to public duty is a license for private betrayal, that wearing a crown somehow allows a person to break hearts, that tradition should come before truth. As she spoke, Diana looked out across the room, meeting the eyes of Britain's most influential figures, making sure her message landed where it needed to. But I have come to believe our true character is revealed by how we treat those closest to us. If a man is unfaithful to his own wife, how could anyone trust him with greater responsibilities? The room was silent, not a sound interrupted her words. The assembled elite instantly sensed the true impact of Diana's words. She had just cast doubt on Charles's very fitness for the throne. The person who deceives a partner will not hesitate to deceive others. The one who breaks sacred vows will abandon any promise whenever it suits him. Charles looked down, weighed by the knowledge that Diana had exposed his faults in front of the highest levels of society. Diana let her final words linger. If a person can show cruelty to the one who loves them, they will show cruelty to anyone beneath their power. A heavy silence filled the hall. She let the moment linger, then delivered the final blow, a strike from which there would be no coming back. Diana's words shifted the mood in the hall. As we gather this evening to honor partnership and unity, let's remember that true leadership begins at home with integrity, with loyalty, and with the courage to live the values we claim to believe in. She flashed a radiant smile, thanked the audience, and gracefully returned to her seat. Thunderous applause filled the ornate room. Charles remained motionless, stripped of his dignity, unable to respond. But if Charles was already hurt by the speech, what happened next would truly finish him. By 9:25 p.m., the atmosphere in the room had completely changed. As Diana took her seat at the table, guests formed a line to be near her, offering congratulations, kind words, even their admiration. Meanwhile, Charles was left completely alone, the crowd's attention having shifted away. An extraordinary address, Your Royal Highness, the Lord Mayor announced, his voice filled with sincere praise. So honest, so moving, absolutely remarkable. Nearby, a leading business figure nodded in strong agreement. Remarkable courage to speak so openly about matters like these. Charles stood alone at the head of the room, forced to watch as his wife received praise for the very words that had brought him down. Each approving nod aimed at Diana felt like another silent judgment against him. But the most painful moment came when Sir James Goldsmith, a prominent figure in both business and society, stepped right in front of Diana, making sure Charles couldn't look away. "Your Royal Highness, that was the most truthful address I have ever heard from a member of the royal family. Real courage is speaking your truth, especially when it comes at a cost," he said. Diana accepted the praise with poise. "Thank you. I simply believe that integrity is owed to the people, especially by those entrusted with power." Her words spoke for themselves. By now, Charles's trustworthiness was clearly in doubt, and what happened next only made things worse for him. When Charles was finally called to speak at 9:45 p.m., just 20 minutes after Diana's powerful statement, his hopes of bouncing back slipped away. Facing the expectant crowd, he struggled to find his composure. "Thank you all for being here this evening," he began, his voice shaky, every word heavy with anxiety and the gravity of the moment. Struggling to regain his composure, Charles said, "It can be truly instructive to hear different viewpoints on matters as important as these." The tension in the room was obvious. Everyone could feel both his discomfort and his sense of defeat. Trying to steer the conversation to safer ground, he added, "Marriage is a complicated undertaking. It requires patience and understanding from everyone involved." But his voice lacked conviction. Compared to Diana's raw honesty, Charles's words sounded hollow and defensive. He hinted that Diana's complaints were overblown, but with each attempt he only made things worse. "We each must strive to fulfill our obligations, both public and private." With these words, Charles unknowingly lent more weight to the accusations revealed just moments earlier. The more he tried to explain, the clearer it became. Diana's words had landed. "My hope is that, from now on, we can all act with wisdom and compassion." But his remarks fell flat, making him seem insecure and apologetic qualities no one wanted to see in a king. That night, a new reality settled across the room. Diana had changed the story. Her searing honesty did more than just embarrass Charles in that moment. It sent shockwaves that would change the course of royal history. Diana's revenge dinner turned out to be a pivotal moment, the point where everything shifted. Her bold actions that night would resonate for years to come. For Diana, it was a transformation. She proved she wasn't afraid to stand up to the monarchy on her own terms. Admirers began to see new depths in her, a strength and cunning that showed she could be both brave and clever when it mattered most. The timid royal wife had disappeared. In her place stood someone who no longer sought the palace's approval. But for Charles, the consequences were both immediate and lasting. Among the influential and the powerful, his reputation was left in ruins. He now appeared fragile and defensive, the old sympathy he once depended on, gone. His private life became public conversation, picked apart and harshly judged. Inside the royal household, the effect was dramatic. The family saw that Diana was no longer under their control. She couldn't be easily dismissed. Instead, she had become a powerful opponent. From that night on, palace courtiers scrambled to come up with new ways to contain her, realizing Diana could no longer be dismissed as unpredictable. The once discreet and untouchable image of the monarchy was starting to fade fast. Diana's boldness showed just how much the public craved authenticity and truth from the royals. That evening set the stage for even more explosive revelations to follow. In the end, Diana's so-called revenge dinner was much more than a brief moment of victory. It was a well-planned move that transformed the entire battle for control inside the House of Windsor. With one powerful speech, she struck at Charles where it hurt most, right in front of the people whose approval he valued above all else. Diana was no longer just the gentle former nursery teacher. She had become a true adversary, fully aware that the truth, used strategically, could cut deeper than any royal protocol. She didn't use honesty as a shield. Instead, she wielded it as a weapon, choosing her moment and her words with absolute precision. For Charles, that night marked the end of any hope that Diana would quietly accept mistreatment. She was determined to push back, and as it turned out, she was remarkably good at it.